Hey everyone. In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at factoring some basic quadratic trinomials, specifically in today's lesson, ones that do not have a leading coefficient or a leading coefficient that is 1, so it's not going to show there. Okay, so your standard factoring, what you're really doing when you're factoring is it's kind of like the reverse of the FOIL method, so you're kind of working backwards to find what your two factors were to get to your trinomial. It's always going to have your x's first because that's x squared. There's going to be an x in each parenthesis, and then you're going to be filling in your factors into each of these binomials. Okay, again, what you're doing here is you're looking for two numbers, so these two factors here and here, that are going to multiply to be your last number and add to be your middle number. So that's the idea as to what we are trying to do with each of these questions. Okay, so looking at our first one here, we're going to factor this quadratic x squared plus 6x plus 8. Again, as you can see here, I set it up on the side. We're looking for two numbers that are going to multiply to be 8 and add to be 6. Okay, so we need to multiply to be 8 and add to be 6. I'm going to put my two parentheses down, x and x, and now I need to figure out what my numbers are going to be. Now you can guess and check here. For 8, there's really not that many options. We know 8 and 1. We know 4 and 2. That's pretty much all we got there. So which of these is going to multiply to be 8 and add to be 6? Well, it's clearly going to be 4 and 2. So 4 times 2 gives us 8. 4 plus 2 gives us 6. So it's going to be x plus 4 and x plus 2. Those are my two factors, my two binomials that would multiply to be that trinomial. All right, let's take a look at one more. Okay, in this example, we have a leading coefficient, but in this one, we have a greatest common factor that we can divide all of our numbers by. So I'm going to go ahead and divide that out first. We know 3, negative 15, and 18 can all be divided by 3, so I'm going to do that and divide them all by that number. So in this case, we get negative 5x and 6. Okay, now what we're doing here is we are looking for two numbers that are going to multiply to be 6 and add to be negative 5. Now, there's quite a few things that multiply to be 6, so we can go ahead and list those. We got 6 and 1, 3 and 2. Actually, that's pretty much it there. But what we can do is we need to now figure out which of these can be combined to add to a negative 5, which is a little tricky because we've got to mess around with the negative signs a little bit. There's really no combination here of two things that can multiply 6 and 1 to get to 6 and be negative 5 when I add them together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use negative 3 and negative 2. Okay, so negative 3 times negative 2, that's going to give me a positive 6. And negative 3 plus a negative 2 is going to give me a negative 5. So again, you had to work that around a little bit to figure out what it was going to be. Again, there's no combination here of these negatives that would have given me the correct thing, so I'm going to go with this one. All right, so let's go ahead and do this now. We get x, and we get a minus 3, and we get x and a minus 2. Okay, we're going to leave the GCF on the outside right where it is, and then we're just factoring that x squared minus 5x plus 6. Again, you look for what multiplies to be 6 and adds to be negative 5. All right, so there's some basic examples of how to factor a quadratic trinomial, specifically the ones today with a leading coefficient of 1.